Just before we start, a slight confession on my part. I've never actually traveled alone as a woman. So, but if this panel goes well, it might be something I consider in the future. But Jessy in particular is a vast traveler. I think she's traveled to 40 countries in the last 16 years. And this is a topic which means a lot to her. So we're going to start off with her reading a poem which she wrote especially for this session. Sorry, the mic stand is not ready, so we'll first of all chat. Can I just ask you why you feel it's so important that you feel so passionately about encouraging young women, maybe particularly in this part of the world, to feel brave enough and creative enough to travel alone?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, when I was 16 years old, I quit school and I left my family's home because I said, I'm not going to learn here what I need to learn in life. I just want to tell all the parents, don't worry, I won't make your daughters run away from home. But my parents weren't happy with that either. I mean, it's not just in India, it's everywhere in the world. I guess parents don't want their daughters seeing run off at such a young age. And I faced quite a few difficulties. I lived in the street. I slept on park benches. I lived together with horrifying people, drug dealers, for example, just to make it worse. I've never done drugs in my life. Thanks to the drug dealers, I've got to make experiences like this. And when I was 17 years old, I decided that the nomad life would be for me. So I've been traveling to over 40 countries. I lived in around 15 different countries. When I say living, I start from a period of 3 months. This is when I consider living as like you've experienced culture to some extent. And I've worked there. That's very important. I have to have worked in that country. And why it's so important to me is that you can only grow if you go out there to get the possibility to grow. I would like to imagine you being a plant. And if I put you into like a really small pot with a tiny bit of earth, will you be able to grow into a big tree? Please tell me. No, you won't. So this is why you have to take the plant out the big pot and put it into a garden. That garden doesn't need to be a huge garden. It can be a small garden as well. But this is the only possibility for the plant to grow into a beautiful tree. And this is why I'm so passionate about encouraging young women to go out there and grow from small plants into big, beautiful trees.
That was pretty much what I was going to say. No, not really. So just to move along, we were chatting backstage, and there's a particular conception that it's less safe to travel as a woman around this part of the world, perhaps in India. Meenal, if you don't mind if I bring you in here as a prominent journalist and writer of Death in Mumbai, which is about crime. How safe do you think it is for young women and particularly foreigners maybe to travel here?
I've traveled alone a fair bit in the course of my work, and I've always been overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. I think, of course, the fact of my being a journalist maybe sort of secures me a bit, but I have traveled in state transport buses to remote parts of India. And really, I think you have to trust people. I think it begins from there. Traveling alone also kind of gives you a sense of getting out of yourself and sort of being interested in other people. And I must say that I've been very, very fortunate in my travels. And I think of late what we see is that women, there's a sort of sense of victimhood that we are embracing. And I think it's really important that we need to get out of this sense of victimhood. There have been women, yes, of course, there are crimes against women. There are many, many instances of sexual assault, and those need to be combated. But that should not stop us from stepping out. And the idea is to engage even more and not to sort of retreat. That should never be an option. So I would really, going by my experiences and a lot of experiences of my other colleagues, journalist colleagues who travel on their own, of course, you have to take the usual precautions. You can't be reckless. But it's a great way, as she said, it's a great way to grow.
Jessy, earlier, going along those lines, you were mentioning something similar that when I was chatting, that particularly here, as a foreigner traveling here, that by embracing the culture, you feel that, whereas it's typical, I also live in Sri Lanka and I'm a foreigner there, that it's a typical response that since you're foreign, you have more money, which if you saw my book sales, you would know I didn't. So, Jessy, you were mentioning a way to combat that.
Yes, well, when I just want you to know that I've studied in Coimbatore, so I know Tamil Nadu pretty well. And I consider Coimbatore my Indian hometown. That's what it is. I love the place, and I love Tamil Nadu, especially if people are from Tamil Nadu here, you're awesome. And the rest as well, but particularly. However, when I got to Coimbatore at first, many people told me, I had never been to India before. Most of my friends went to Mumbai, to Delhi, to Rishikesh, you know, the typical kind of thing, and I found myself in Coimbatore, enough said. And well, I remember my mom saying, before I left, the words, "Please don't get raped." That's a beautiful sentence to say when you're just about to go and study somewhere. Please don't get raped. And of course, I've heard and read all the stories about India and all the sexual offense, harassment, and these horrible stories that happen to these girls. And you have to know that we don't read much in the newspapers about India. If we read something about India, it's most of the time pretty damn bad. And I guess that's the problem. I don't think that India is in particular unsafe. I believe it's the media that make it unsafe, because if every sexual offense and every sexual harassment that you have in Germany would be in the newspaper, Indian people wouldn't want to travel to Germany anymore. I'm really sorry. It's just how it is, you know. In particular, I would like to tell you that I just told Chhimi backstage, there's a statistic that came out that 80% of women will experience sexual offense in Germany, whereas only 12% of men, okay? We're only talking about numbers. I'm pretty sure that it's 99.9% of women. So, you know, it's the media that create this, and it's the image that has to change of the woman, and it's not the problem of women that have to change the image. Yes, it's the society image of woman, because we might be the weaker gender, but we're not. We are getting pregnant, and we're getting babies out there. I tell you, if men would have to do this, sorry guys, but I'm pretty sure that you would die. You know, so, and to close this up, to really answer your question, when I feel so safe walking in Coimbatore. I have actually men stop by asking me if they could take me home because it was 8 p.m. So cute. And the only persons that have ever really looked at me, I just want to tell you, I know I'm really pale, very tall, I wear a sari, and woman will come up to me and say, "Oh, you look so beautiful, can I take a selfie?" Man will never do this, always woman. So I feel really appreciated by Indian women, you know, it's wonderful, so thank you very much. But I believe that when you really try to be a part, not to become Indian, but to be part of a culture, and this happens all over the world, when you look like you are adapting, I guess that makes you safe, because you will find friends, you will find family, you will find people that look after you. If you just walk around being a tourist, going to temples and partying and getting drunk, you know, or smoking weed in Goa, I don't know, you won't be particularly safe. It's the people you meet that will make you feel safe.
So that bit about smoking weed in Goa, even though she's looking at me, it's addressed to everyone. Pilar, to bring you in, the difference, I think, although Jessy works on the travels, Pilar came to India 7 years ago, is that correct, on work, and she's since published a book of maps, of old maps of Delhi. So I wanted to just ask, what is the difference between maybe what Jessy's suggesting of young people traveling on their own, maybe to find themselves, compared to what you went through traveling for work and studies?
I'm Italian, and I've studied always in Italy till 23 years old. So I usually always went around Europe and traveled around nearby my country. So because of my PhD, I was very fascinated by going somewhere else and learn about another culture. So after a little bit of struggle with my parents, I decided that India was the place where I wanted to go. And I didn't know anyone in India. I didn't have a friend. I didn't have a professor to meet, anybody. So I've dropped an email to a professor and I've asked him, look, I would want to work on India and I would want to work on Delhi. And I'm an architect and you're an eminent architect. Could you please take me on board? Can I please work with you? Completely out of the blue. This man was very kind. I didn't expect him to reply. He did reply. He said, okay, I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm going to be in Heidelberg, and please come and meet me. So that's where my alone journey started. So I went to Heidelberg, one small little tiny luggage. I met this Indian architect, and we had spent 3 days to convince him that was worth to support my work. And after 3 days, he said, okay, fine. If you want to work on India, you don't know anything about it. If you want to do a serious job, you have to move in India. I'm not going to help you if you're going to sit in Europe and come there for just 2 weeks, 1 week, and then go back to Europe, sitting in your comfort zone. So that was, I went back. I said, okay, should I really move to India? It took me a couple of months. Then I've decided, okay, I'm going to go. So without any support, anything, I went to this professor's house in Delhi. And then since then, I've never left. So it's been 7 years I've been living in an Indian house, and he had helped me all the way through, and I get to know the culture. So I think I've never traveled alone for pleasure, but this was my main journey in terms of traveling alone. And as she mentioned before, traveling alone gives you the opportunity of moving away from that comfort zone. The minute you move away, then you meet other people. Doesn't mean that you really travel alone, but you meet people that are really different, and you open your brain and your mind opens up a lot. So I think it's really worth it to try as an experience.
Thank you very much. Pilar also mentioned to me earlier something which a lot of people here may be aspiring writers, that writing on its own is quite a lonely journey. You do it on your own, and so travel can sort of prepare you for that, can sort of fuel your creativity. Now, Meenal, you were mentioning earlier, and I like the story about your travel so we were talking about people coming here, but your travel to Europe and what you got out of it.
Before I respond to that, I just want to say one quick thing, is especially to the parents here, that so many of young men, both men and young women, travel out from their homes in small town India and come to the big cities to work. That's also travel, and they come and like she did, she of course traveled continents and countries. But even in India, people move out from small cities. I grew up in small cities, and then I moved to Delhi and Bombay for my work. So that's also a travel, and it really sort of, it essentially, the bedrock is parents have to trust their daughters. But coming back to what you said about traveling to Europe, I had a very interesting experience, and I was traveling to Norway on my own for vacation. And in a place called Bergen, I had to get into a train, an overnight train, and I went up to the conductor to get my keys to the compartment for the overnight travel. And there was one young Indian woman who came at the same time, and the conductor naturally assumed that we were traveling together, but we weren't. We were both from Bombay. And this girl and her friend, they waited for me the next day at the platform, and I was lured by the Indian food that they were carrying. And we sort of, we kept in touch, and today she's one of my closest friends. And so I'm saying that, you can make friends, you just have to be open-minded and allow things to happen to you.
Fantastic. And Jessy, the poems, the stand's ready for whenever you want. But if you have anything further to say, perhaps if you read your poem and we can come back to discussions.
Well, I just really, this wonderful lady just said something really important. She said, parents, you've got to trust your daughter. My parents didn't talk to me for over 10 years because I left. They were pretty upset. And when I finally sat down with my mom 3 years ago, I asked her, so what was your problem? And then she said this one sentence. She didn't mean it in a bad way, but now I understand her. She said, we didn't think that you could do it. And I was like, wow. Thank you. And I think that's the sentence that even now it brings tears to my eyes. We didn't think that you could do it. Aren't parents there to motivate your children? I'm so sorry that I'm asking. So, Woman Traveling Alone, the title is like a little misleading, because we don't want to offer options to women. We want to offer solutions. Why are we sitting here having this panel discussion? Why are we not sitting here and talking about man traveling alone? You know, no, it's woman traveling alone. So we're not here to talk about options. We're here to talk about solutions. What are the problems? Why are we sitting here today? Why is it necessary to have this conversation? And I will tell you why. Because we are the only people that can change it. And now I'm talking to you, beautiful gentlemen. I'm especially talking to you right now. If you are asking yourself, what can I do? Like, India is such a huge country, and I can't just go and become the next president and change every law. That's right, you can't do this. Well, you could. You can try, you know. But when you see an incident, step in. If you hear a woman being sexually harassed, say something. If you see that a woman is being touched or treated in a bad way, even if it's not your wife, not your daughter, I just would like you to imagine that it is your wife or it is your daughter. Whenever you see a young woman in the street being mistreated, just imagine that this woman could be your daughter, and you wouldn't want to let this happen to your daughter. This is the way how we can change it. It's not us women alone that can change the world. We can only do this together. We are in this together. We are society. We are community. There's no difference between man and woman, just the gender, just the physical options. So whenever, man, and I really, really urge you to do this, I don't want to leave India and feel like I haven't gotten to you at least a tiny bit here in this small round. If anything you can change, that's the way you can do it. And I trust in you. I put a lot of faith in you that you're going to make a start. Take care of your daughters, even if they're not.
So, Jessy has turned this, well, everyone has turned this session into something much more profound than I was expecting. So now I look back on these questions and they look a bit trivial and stupid. So I'll move on and invite Jessy to recite her poem, which she especially wrote for the session.
So I'm just, I performed yesterday at 12:30. Oh, wow, I'm on the big screen. Hi. I performed yesterday at 12:30. I'm a spoken word artist and a rap artist. This is how I make money. This is how I pay for my rent and my food, by writing music and writing poetry. And I've written one especially for you. I hope it's going to motivate you to go out there. The poem is called Blank Page. Oh my gosh, look at you. Look at you. You shiny, bright and blank piece of paper. How beautiful you are. I love the look on your unlabeled complexion. That square shape fits you well, and how thin you are. Some might believe that you're weak, but to me you look pretty strong. And I can't wait to hear how you're going to fill every little inch of your thin A4. And please tell me, where do you belong? Are you here to become a postcard, a book, maybe a secret document? Don't be shy, just tell me. Every little piece of paper is here to serve humanity. Look at you, patiently waiting to be filled with stories, ideas, dreams, and hopes. You reflect the light of a world that could be steady and whole. And while you're swearing the windy days of youth away, exposed and innocent, to trying to find your page in this huge catalog called life, there'll be moments when you realize that filling your blank page of paper can be quite difficult at times. Friends will drop you, family might crush you, doubts will rip you apart and tear your delicateness into shreds and snippets. Others will crinkle you, wrinkles will appear, some will step on you and many will fear the power that resides between your fine thinking lines, and for discovering the real potential you hold, they are far too occupied. And when you feel like you're touching rock bottom of society's paper waste basket, between unwanted notes and surrounded by unfulfilled tasks, I want you to know that there's a way of rising like phoenix from the confetti. strong and steady, even with all that pain. What if I tell you that you could be more than just a piece of paper? What if I tell you that you could become a flying paper plane? Just imagine for a second spreading those mellow paper wings, ready to take off and finally fly outside this narrow-minded cardboard box. To find new stories, you will have to leave the library that holds you hostage, and not using your bumping heart engine to discover the globe that Atlas carries would be wasted. Nothing else will fill your blank page like a date with Mother Earth, a romantic lifetime experience, not just for a day, but forever. Oh my gosh, look at you. You scared, skeptical, silly piece of human history. How beautiful you are. I love the look on your carefree face. That body fits you well. And how shy you are. Some might believe that you are weak. But to me, you look just strong enough. And I can't wait to hear how you're going to fill every little inch of your existence. And please tell me, do you want to know where you really belong? Awesome. Let's get the move on. Take a pinch of hope and fold it right to save more for later. Your middle holds more nations than pieces of passport paper. Let's continue and create two wings that carry your belief. Build them lighter than leaves and as strong as a tree. From there, grow towards the front row. Your pilot seat, a steering wheel, and two sharp eyes to stay on track is all you really need. Don't wait to be thrown by someone. You've got to throw yourself out there. An invisible string will be pulling you up towards the air, and that string is called belief in yourself. I swear. The first breeze of freedom in your face might feel cold and uncomfortable, because looking down from high above may seem like you're falling, but clouds made out of tiny trust drops will nourish and hold you. Northern stars will rock you to sleep at night, while storms shake you awake during the day. The smiling sun will guide your way until rain fills your anger and despair. So tell me, are you already questioning the new horizons that you discover? I understand it's so hard, but what if I tell you that traveling was all about your willpower and never about others? Where to start and when to arrive. Traveling is not about the destination, my child. Safe flights, they shout when you leave. And once you've left, there's no coming back. To say farewell will break your heart over and over again. To renounce and to miss, two mantras that will play like a bitter symphony in your nerve endings. They make it so hard to feel the need of your own small little being right here. But, at least you feel it. Traveling, a balancing act between loving and loneliness. Never underestimate the magic of a piece of paper. Even when it's fragile, it is never useless. Oh my gosh, look at you now. You brave, grown and crazy piece of wordiness. How beautiful you are. I love the sparkle in your big open eyes. Those scratches on your body fit you so well, and how courageous you are. Some might still believe that you're weak, but to me you're incredibly strong. And I can't wait to hear all about your journey, because that blank page is now long gone. Now it's your turn to carry enough stories to fill entire libraries on your own. You've created your very personal city of soul. So go out there and reach other pieces of paper, eagerly waiting to be folded and filled. In every single town, village, or corner on this planet are blank pages walking the street, not knowing their real potential. Let's share the hopeful message of origami to fill the airways with millions of paper planes covered in meaningful ideas and colorful ink stains. Changing the world through changing minds. Now take that piece of paper. It's your time and your story to write. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazingly powerful, and I'm sure that was that will be very inspiring for people out there. I understand, Jessy, you have a Facebook page, and I don't know whether you can share this poem on Facebook.
I have only a friends page. I don't like Facebook pages and Instagram.
Okay, so
only famous people do this.
Okay, so please forget what I just said. But if you have time afterwards, please do have a look out for Meenal and Pilar's books in the bookshop area. And now I think I'm sure there'll be some questions generated from that. So if we can throw the panel open to the audience. I think we need some microphones to come around, please.
Hello. Okay. Jessy, yesterday I saw the brilliant performance you had there yesterday. You gave a great message to India, that India needs a cultural revolution. That's what you said yesterday. Now, if you are willing to do that revolution starting from Bangalore, I'm going to support you fully. Now, I want to tell you something about women traveling alone. A friend of mine from Bangalore went to New York first time. She was 22 years old. She had many confusions. Many people had told her, be careful in New York. All the black men are devils. This is the kind of idea she was given by people. She was frightened. Anyway, she returned and told me the story. First time when I climbed the steps from the platform up in the subway in New York, I was all alone. A black man was coming from there. I got frightened. Anyway, as he approached, I held his hand. Brother, why don't you join me for a cup of coffee? I am here for the first time. He was so great. Both of them went to the coffee house, enjoyed a nice cup of coffee. This is what humanity is in the world.
Thank you so much.
I'm very glad that. Please come, start the revolution from Bangalore. I lived with one revolutionary of the 20th century. I know 5 people in the 20th century, the greatest revolutionaries in the world. One of them, I had the privilege to live with, Fidel Castro.
Wow. You look so young. How is this even possible?
Why? I'll tell you. He said, revolution is not a tea party. Revolution has to be created from the streets of Bangalore, New York, Japan, everywhere. I know one person, my friend sitting there, probably doing. Anyway, please stay in Bangalore, start a revolution. I'll support you. I climbed a mountain in Cuba with Fidel Castro, the only Indian I had. I'm a revolutionary.
He's amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a revolutionary in Bangalore, and I will gladly help you. But just quickly, you said something really important. You said that she was afraid. And I guess that fear is what makes this world break apart. This is where racism is created. This is where everything is created. Everything is created in fear. And if you just talked about Indian culture, and before we knew this today, rishis knew this 5,000 years ago, that fear makes the world fall apart. So lovely people from India, all the answers you have in your Vedas and Upanishads, so just open the books, you will get a lot of answers.
Are there any more questions?
Young girls, please ask questions.
One coming up.
Hi. Thank you so much for this panel. I'm traveling across India for a year on work come pleasure, but it's a writing related question. I opened a blog of mine, and I'm interacting with the world, and I'm letting world affect me and all that. But then what do I write every day? It's not a journal, so I don't want my thoughts to be filtered by what people will read. At the same time, I don't want to be very pompous about, So how do I maintain a balance between writing the truth of what affects me and seeing the world through my eye across this journey, and not wanting to be pompous? I don't want it to be an essay or a journal. So, something regarding that.
Well, there's only one truth about writing, which is to be truthful. And you don't have to worry about, if you are sounding pompous, you will know yourself that you're sounding pompous. You don't have to wait for feedback. So you have to distill the truth of your experiences. And one of the great joys of traveling alone, and which is why it's also very difficult, is because you have to sit with yourself. There's no distraction of other people to sort of, you have to be comfortable in your own skin to be able to travel alone. And writing is the same.
I want to add something, is that the truth is your truth. So at the end, you are truthful. The minute in which is your interpretation, it is the truth. So I don't think there's any discrepancy between the two.
And to finish it, the most important truth is to stay true about yourself. So there's the truth and there's, being true to yourself. That's the
Because
most
traveling and
important thing.
writing, both a very personal experience to me. So I'm even wondering, should I make it a part of other people's experience as well, and all those things.
You will find, you're talking about form. Form will come eventually, but start with recording what you see, what you feel, what your experiences are. Then the form that this writing will take, that can be worked upon later.
It's something that I do workshops on writing poetry, and there's something that I always tell my students. I tell them that if you want to describe something to the person, close your eyes and imagine how you would like it to describe for yourself. When I tell you I've been to the beach, you know that this is an information. You know that I've been to the beach. But if I tell you I walked on yellow hot sand, the sun was burning my skin, the beautiful blue waves were swapping over my feet, people can feel that you've been to the beach. So this is about the form to help you try to be as precise as possible and create images, not information, create images.
Thank you.
Through the many years, I've been told that various things are bad for me. Now I'm being told, and quite powerfully, I think yesterday and today in this space, that the media is the new devil. All right, and Jessy, you said that, the media, yeah. So what are we to do about that? And you are a media person, Meenal. So how do we sort that out?
I think media is a very convenient whipping horse. Yes, of course, it does a lot of things wrong, but if you look at it in the balance, it gets a lot of things right. And I would sort of beg to disagree with Jessy here about writing about sexual assault on women. I think in India there is, for so long that this has gone unrepresented, that yes, we are slightly at the danger of perhaps overrepresenting, but we need some correction. And I think it's really important. The reason we are having this conversation, the reason so many women are coming forward these days to talk about sexual harassment, look at how long it took American powerful actresses to talk about Harvey Weinstein. I mean, it needs courage, it needs time, and you need to know that when you speak, you will be heard. Therefore, media representation is very, very important. And I think, as I said, media gets a lot of things wrong, but then who doesn't? But in the overall balance, I think the more light you shine, it's always good.
Hi, Jessy. My question is especially to you and some of the other panelists also.
Can we have it a bit louder, please?
Yeah, I'm a writer myself, and I've been planning to travel in the next maybe a year or so. I've been planning to travel to the Southeast Asia region. And I'm not exactly in my 20s. And I have a family to take care of. And I have a family to leave behind when I travel. My concerns are slightly different from a teenager traveling, maybe, which you had probably in the initial days. And what's really struck me was the line that you said, that your mom said, that we don't know if she can make it. I think mental blocks are the real difficulties that most women carry with them, whether it's as a teenager or as 20 plus, 30 plus, whatever. My question to you is more related to, since I'm a writer, not every writer has the opportunities to do poetry workshops or songs or whatever. what were the I'm sure you did different kinds of work because yours has been a very long journey. I'm sure it's not been only writing that you've survived on. What were the kind of work that you did, and how difficult is it? I also don't want to romanticize. I've seen enough travel films. Read enough travel books, and especially if you travel in slightly hostile countries, like some of the neighbors we have, it's not easy. So I'd also like to know from a very practical perspective how you deal with traveling alone in a hostile country maybe. What are the realities, the non-romantic side of it? How do you deal with it?
So the thing is that any person going to any country, I would always, the first thing I do is meeting people, good people. How do you know that they are good people? If there's something that you will develop over time, and that's the feeling to pick up on energies. You will know at some point who is good with you and who is bad with you. That's something that people can't teach you. It's something that you will be taught by traveling. I did everything from washing plates in a restaurant, in a 5-star restaurant, to sweeping the streets with a broom, working as a sommelier. I did a whiskey sommelier education just to make more money. I became my own graphic designer. You should know that I have no school degree. Nothing. I have nothing. Like, yes, okay, I studied Ayurveda. That's my little bachelor. I'm very proud of that. But it's not recognized in Germany, yes. But apart from that, I have no degree. So I can't go somewhere and say, oh, I'm an IT engineer. They can work all over the place. It's very easy. If you do a job that is recognized worldwide, start there. Always go somewhere. There are always job centers you can go to. Every country has some sort of base where they advertise job possibilities. Obviously, if you have a working visa problem, sometimes even I can't work. In India, I would have to get a visa. And now, guys, shut your ears. Better turn the camera off. Traveling is not always about being legal, my darling. You know what I mean? When you're really struggling, you don't really give a f about a working visa, you see, and this is what I've done as well in my life. I've done many, many jobs, cash in hand. If you need to survive, sometimes that's the only way. So I can only tell you that if you want to survive somewhere, go find the right people, ask them the right questions. They will give you the right answers. Stay out of any damage or problems. Always try to go the best way that you can do. Always do what you would do for your family. That's it.
Okay, I think we have to wrap up, but this young lady always was halfway through a question, so we'll...
Just a small question. So I really enjoyed everybody's experience. I work with a company where we are trying to redefine the way women travel in India. And a part of my work involves talking to husbands, fathers, brothers sometimes, men of the family, convincing them that it's okay for women to travel. While the women call me up and they say that this is my bucket list destination, I really want to go, but I don't get to travel. So how do we change the mindset of the society, families? Women don't take time out of their work as much as they want to because of a lot of reasons. So how do we change mindset of people here?
So I can start off here just by agreeing with you because I work at a school where I try and get students into university, and often the parents say, okay, I've got this much money for my son to go to university. And I say, so how much are you keeping for your daughter? And they go, no, I'm not going to send her. It's not safe. So it's at a smaller level. So within that school, I can educate the parents. And I'm very point blank about it. I say, I'm not going to help your son get into university unless you support both. Often, this is where I don't like to differentiate between men and women, but my experience is that the women often work harder, especially at school, so they deserve more opportunities. And they've got more challenges to rise against. So unfortunately, it is trying to convince an elder generation. And if it's any positive answer, in my experience, working in a school, it is changing a lot. And the perceptions of safety of girls going abroad is much better. But sorry, I'll pass over.
No, I don't know. Maybe education, I think, is a slow process. But maybe through education, through the fact that slowly, the mentality tries to get... the older generation, probably you can't change really the mentality. But slowly, if through education, through exposure to traveling, through these talks, through discussions, I think slowly the mindset could change.
you need to build enough anecdotal evidence that it's safe to travel for women. If you can do that, I think it'll help.
And I just want you to think about the domino effect. You know, if one little stone falls, then many can fall. So this is what it is. And if there's one thing that I would actually always say to women that are right now wanting to travel alone in this world, I know it sounds stupid, but it's something that has always given me a lot of self-confidence, and this is what you will need out there, ladies. Don't forget about money or jobs. What you need is self-confidence, and to get that confidence is through self-defense. When you know that you can help yourself in problematic situations, you will feel so much better about yourself. I do Wing Chun and English boxing, so I would urge you to do a self-defense class, because when you know how to kick some, can I say it? When you can kick some ass, you will feel so much better out there. So that's just an advice from Jessy James LaFleur to you,
Okay.
and that's it.
I've been told that we have to wrap up. Do I still have to wrap up now you know about her martial arts? Or, okay. Thank you very much to the panelists. That was a fantastic session. Thank you.
Right.